In Beijing, a command sequence is transmitted from one of China's secure mission control facilities. Beyond the atmosphere, the country's most powerful launch vehicle, the Long March 5B, has completed its ascent, placing a next-generation spacecraft into orbit. Officially, the mission is presented as part of China's broader space program, which includes the development of a permanent space station, successful lunar sample return operations, and the deployment of a rover on Mars. To international observers, the launch fits within that established pattern. Yet according to several analyses and intelligence assessments, the spacecraft's trajectory and design suggest a secondary objective. Rather than simply supporting near-Earth operations, it is directed toward an encounter with a fragment of 3I Atlas, an interstellar object first detected by astronomers several years ago. This fragment, still moving through the inner solar system, represents one of the rarest categories of celestial bodies ever observed, material originating outside the Sun's gravitational domain. To understand why this mission matters, one must first revisit the strange history of 3I Atlas. Astronomers have grown accustomed to comets and asteroids crossing our skies, icy wanderers from the outer reaches of the solar system that swing past the Sun in graceful, predictable arcs. These visitors are familiar, their patterns well studied. But a few years ago, astronomers detected something that seemed to have been flung to us from the void between stars. Its velocity, its angle of approach, even its chemical signatures, all pointed to origins far beyond the boundaries of our solar system. This was a true interstellar traveler, an object forged in another sun's light, cast out into the galactic wilderness, and only by chance passing near our own star after millions, perhaps billions of years drifting through the darkness. At first, its behavior seemed consistent with that of a comet. As it approached the warmth of our sun, it brightened as though shedding material. Yet what followed confounded expectations. Instead of forming a glowing tail, the kind that makes comets spectacular to the human eye, 3I Atlas crumbled apart. It did not explode in a violent detonation. It did not disintegrate in the predictable manner of an icy body exposed to heat. It simply dissolved into a cloud of fragments, a cosmic ghost dissolving in slow motion. The sun was too distant to have pulled it apart with gravity, and its heat too weak to explain the disintegration. The event in itself was a puzzle. But it was the fragments that deepened the mystery. Powerful telescopes, including Hubble, observed the debris cloud, and the light bouncing off certain shards did not match the profile of ice, dust, or even rocky silicates. Instead, it bore the unmistakable signature of refined, processed metal. This was not natural ore, the raw product of star systems and their collisions. This was something shaped, something altered. It was as though the object had shed its outer shell and revealed an inner layer of engineered material. For those who saw the data, it was as if a package had been unwrapped in front of humanity's telescopes. Publicly, the story was dismissed. Press releases softened the strangeness, calling 3I Atlas a curious comet with odd properties. Explanations leaned on the exotic. Maybe it carried materials rare to our region of the galaxy. The scientific community, wary of fueling speculation about extraterrestrial origins, steered the conversation toward natural but unusual possibilities. Behind the scenes, however, another narrative began to take shape. Intelligence agencies, aerospace experts, and military strategists began to ask more dangerous questions. Was 3I Atlas truly natural? Could it have been a probe, a machine, or even the wreckage of an ancient vessel long since abandoned to the void? Among the fragments, one piece in particular stood out, a chunk, several hundred feet across, large enough to hold secrets that smaller shards could not. It continued its silent journey, tumbling through the darkness like a derelict ship adrift at sea. For a time, it seemed destined to vanish into obscurity, unreachable, unstudied, a mystery consigned to the unreachable archives of the cosmos. Then came the revelation that changed everything. New tracking data from a joint Harvard-NASA study suggested that the object's course would not take it past Earth, nor hurl it into the distant outer solar system. Instead, its orbit would intersect perfectly with Mars. This discovery transformed a scientific curiosity into an urgent race. If 3I Atlas struck the Martian surface, the fragment would be obliterated, its secrets scattered into dust, gone forever. For the Chinese National Space Administration, however, this was not a cause for alarm.
It was the opportunity of a lifetime. While American scientists pored over data and theorized about possible missions that might take a decade or more to plan, China was already moving hardware. For more than a decade, China had cultivated a program not fully visible to the public eye. While its official missions dazzled the world with their technological milestones, a parallel effort had quietly developed, a rapid response capability designed to seize opportunities as they arose. Known in classified channels as Tianshu, or Heavenly Hand, it was conceived not as an exploratory project, but as an instrument of capture. The philosophy was simple. If something extraordinary appeared within reach, China would not wait for consensus or international cooperation. It would act. The plan, outlined in restricted documents, was staggering in its ambition. A spacecraft would be launched aboard the Long March 5, China's most powerful rocket. It would use Mars's gravity not merely to enter orbit, but to bend itself into the precise path of 3I Atlas fragment. The maneuver alone is something that has challenged the greatest space agencies for decades. Once the probe established itself in Martian orbit, the real challenge would begin. The fragment, spinning chaotically at high velocity, could not simply be grabbed. A rigid capture system would shatter it, destroying the very prize sought. Instead, China's engineers devised a mechanism that seemed pulled from the edge of science fiction, a deployable catcher's mitt, a net over 300 feet wide woven from carbon nanofiber composite. The material is 10 times stronger than steel, yet almost impossibly light. The idea was to envelop the fragment, not seize it, and then gradually absorb its chaotic spin until it could be stabilized. Once contained, small thrusters would push the captured fragment into a stable orbit around Mars. This concept has been described, even by astonished Western observers, as akin to catching a spinning bullet with a butterfly net from millions of miles away. It is not just technically challenging, it is audacious to the point of recklessness. But that, some argue, is precisely the kind of boldness that can yield transformative results. And in this case, the secrecy surrounding the operation has shocked rival nations. No grand announcements, no decade-long roadmaps. The hardware was already waiting, its purpose hidden in plain sight. China had simply repurposed an existing classified platform and launched. Why Mars? The choice is as brilliant as it is unsettling. For one, physics dictates that intercepting 3I Atlas in deep space would require prohibitive amounts of fuel. Only by waiting until it passed close to Mars could a spacecraft realistically match its trajectory. By leveraging Mars's gravity in a maneuver known as gravity assist, China could slow its craft and bend it onto the perfect intercept path with far less fuel. What might have been impossible suddenly became achievable. But there are other reasons too, and they speak to a deeper strategy. If the fragment were captured and placed in Earth orbit, every major power on the planet would be watching it constantly. The political pressure to share findings, the risk of espionage, and the inability to work in secrecy would be insurmountable. By relocating the fragment into Martian orbit, China secures not only time, but privacy. With communication delays stretching from 5 to 20 minutes each way, real-time interference is effectively impossible. What happens around Mars stays around Mars, at least for now.
There is also the question of safety. If 3I Atlas is not just an inert artifact, but a carrier of unknown microbes or emitters of strange radiation, keeping it quarantined 150 million miles from Earth is a precaution that even cautious scientists would find hard to criticize. Mars, in this sense, becomes both laboratory and vault, a planetary-scale quarantine zone where the unknown can be studied at a safe distance. Still, the risks remain astronomical. The launch window was impossibly narrow. A matter of days separated success from failure. Missing the window would mean losing the chance entirely. And even if capture succeeds, the fragment itself remains an enigma. What if its disintegration was not random, but the failure of a machine? What if its silence masks functions we cannot yet detect? The implications of success are profound, for this is not, despite the language of exploration, about science alone.
The refined metal signature detected by Hubble changed everything. This was not nickel iron from an asteroid or exotic ice. This was material shaped and engineered. Some speculative analyses even suggest the possibility of programmable matter, substances that can alter their form and properties on command. If that is true, then the capture of 3I Atlas is not just a scientific coup, it is the acquisition of a technology that could remake civilization. Imagine materials that rebuild themselves when damaged, vehicles that alter shape to suit their environment, tools that emerge fully formed out of seemingly inert matter. Imagine energy sources that eclipse fossil fuels or propulsion systems that make interstellar travel not a dream but a reality. These possibilities lie at the heart of why China is moving with such speed and secrecy. For whoever unlocks 3I Atlas's secrets does not merely gain knowledge, they inherit power, the kind of power that renders all existing balances of geopolitics obsolete. It is not far-fetched to say this could be larger than the discovery of fire, larger than the splitting of the atom. A successful reverse engineering of alien technology, or even remnants of it, would catapult one nation ahead of all others, leaving rivals technologically paralyzed. The stakes are not academic, they are existential. The country that holds 3I Atlas holds the keys to humanity's future. And yet the deeper question remains, what was 3I Atlas? If it was a probe, was it sent to explore or to surveil? If it was a ship, who traveled aboard and what calamity destroyed them? Was it strange disintegration, the final death of a machine at the end of its lifespan? Or a deliberate act of self-destruction, a safeguard to prevent capture? The silence of 3I Atlas is haunting. It drifts through our solar system like a ghost ship, carrying within it a story whose beginning and ending are lost to time. China's gamble, then, is not simply a mission of science. It is salvage on a scale humanity has never attempted. It is an effort to reach into the cosmic ocean and retrieve a relic of another civilization, perhaps a dead one, perhaps something far stranger. The implications border on the mythic. In one sense, it is a gesture of human audacity, proof that we are no longer passive observers of the cosmos. In another, it is a reminder of how quickly the search for knowledge can be subsumed by the thirst for power. If China succeeds, the world will face an unprecedented dilemma. Should the technology be shared openly, for the benefit of all humanity? Or should it remain hidden, controlled by a single state, wielded as leverage over an entire planet? Perhaps the most dangerous secret in human history is not that we are not alone, but that the artifacts of others may fall into human hands before we are ready. What is certain is that the race has already begun. 3I Atlas is moving toward Mars, a silent ghost from beyond the stars. And somewhere, hidden in the darkness between two worlds, a net is waiting.